Well, this is it, folks. The last episode of 2021. I wanted to start off the show by thanking each one of you once again, and seriously, I mean it. I never would imagine that one day I'd be running a podcast. And a fun fact, I used to listen to a lot of talk radio as a kid, and when I got out of the Marines back in 2005, I was obsessed with listening to it, and I would listen all day on the job site. I even thought about interning on a show and getting on the radio back in the day. But I really loved being a welder and the pay that came along with it, and I couldn't see myself juggling 2 full-time gigs and making that schedule work. It just wasn't possible. But thanks to the power of podcasting and the former host Jimmy McKnight for giving me a shot at this thing, I can now do both on my own terms and my own schedule. And without all of you consuming the product that I'm producing, it sure as hell wouldn't work. So thank you for all the emails, text messages, phone calls, DMs, the downloads, when you tag me on social media, other than the giveaways, and the purchasing merchandise from the show. I really appreciate it so much from the bottom of my heart. It's been an awesome year with the podcast. I've made significant growth. We've got more stuff coming in 2022. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about that. We'll change gears a little bit and talk about what's coming for 2022. So if you follow me on social media at all, you've known that I've put out a couple Instagram stories about some really big news that I have coming for next year. And I'm going to go ahead and just let the cat out of the bag right here, right now. Starting on January 4th, 2022, I'm going to be releasing more content. I have a whole new show coming out called Just the Tip Tuesday. Now, don't worry, it's not going to interfere with the regularly scheduled shows that I release every Monday. This is just going to be an additional show that covers various topics related to welding to help you as a welder get better at your craft. These episodes are going to come out every Tuesday throughout 2022. I've got several topics that I'm going to be discussing, stick welding, MIG welding, TIG, flux core, oxy-fuel cutting, just all kinds of different topics as it relates to welding to help you grow as a welder. I'm planning on keeping them short, probably 15 to 30 minutes. Some of them might be a little bit less. Some of them might go a little bit longer, and that's cool. I just want to cover facts, and every once in a while, since I don't know everything about welding, I'm going to bring in a subject matter expert to help spread their knowledge in their specific area as well. And this is just one more thing our Junkies Podcast is doing to help educate and inspire the next generation of welders. In addition to the regular Monday shows and Just the Tip Tuesday, I'm going to be joining forces once again with the American Welding Society to bring back Weld Wednesdays with AWS. New episodes of that show are going to come out on January 5th, and I'm going to be releasing a new episode the first Wednesday of every month for the rest of the year. I can't wait to dive deep into this year and just push myself to a whole nother level. It's not part of some New Year's resolution. I just figured, with the new year coming along, I was going to hold off on everything and just release it at the new year. It just made sense to go ahead and finish 2021 off and, start something new, fresh at the beginning of the year. You all have probably heard my thoughts and opinions on New Year's resolutions and all that stuff, so this isn't what that is. This isn't a resolution. This is just another goal that I've set for myself, and it just seemed like the perfect time to launch it was at the beginning of 2022. I just want to see how far I can push myself with this show. I hope you all have a kick-ass 2022 and that you accomplish all the goals you set for yourself this year. And one thing I want you to remember, that if you fail along the way, trying to achieve these goals, that's fine. Failures are the stepping stones to success. The only difference between failure and success is that one last attempt. Whenever you fail at something, take a step back and just analyze what went right, what went wrong, make your adjustments, and then go after it again. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Jacob Schofield. I met Jacob back in 2018 at the SouthCoast Welding Competition in Houston, Texas. Jacob's a pipe welder by trade, but has since also started to venture off in other areas of the welding industry due to there not being a whole lot of work in the oil and gas right now. Jacob is a great example of what a positive attitude and tenacity can help you achieve in life. We talk about how Jacob got hired on as a pipe welder back in the day, his transition into a new industry, his YouTube channel, the beds that he builds for the different pickup trucks that he has, and everything in between. We're going to get right into it after a quick word from the supporters of the show. Today's episode of the ARC Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Lincoln Electric, the welding experts. Have you seen the new Ranger 330 MPX? It's a welder and generator that's leading the way for construction, maintenance, and service trucks. The modern design and advanced features allow this machine to streamline welding operations and improve efficiency on the job site. The machine is smaller than the previous Ranger. It's actually 20% smaller, and it's 25% lighter than other machines in its class. saving you space and weight on your rig. It transports to the field with less bulk and less effort, leaving you more room for tools and accessories you need on the job site. And it's 60% quieter than other machines in its class to enhance safety and comfort in the workplace. There's plenty of power too, at 330 amps and 28 volts. And it's capable of running the Magnum Pro 250 LX GT spool gun with direct connect. Check out the 330 MPX today at store.lincolnelectric.com and use ARC Junkies 10 to get 10% off this machine or many others. You can also use ARC Junkies 20 to get 20% off gear and accessories. That's store.lincolnelectric.com. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather, my buddies down in Houston, Texas. They make the coolest custom hoods and leather goods available in the welding industry. Check them out today at outlawleatherusa.com and you can get 15% off when you order any custom leather welding hoods or other custom leather items such as knee pads, arm braces, and rod pouches, and more. That's outlawleatherusa.com. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders, which are great machines for home hobbyists and small business owners. I personally use Everlast Welders to run my side business. I get all kinds of different work that comes from my home shop, whether it's weightlifting equipment, trailer repairs, both steel and aluminum, stainless steel restaurant equipment, broken furniture, custom art pieces, you name it. With two machines, whether it's my 255 EXT for steel, stainless, and aluminum TIG, or my Cyclone 200E for all my MIG applications. They're both great running machines and have knocked out every single job that I've thrown at them. Everlast has a ton of machines to choose from on their website to fit every budget and skill level. They have single process machines such as stick and MIG only, or multi-process machines that allow you to do every single process including AC TIG. They also have the new Everlast Storm, which is a stick, MIG, and plasma cutting combo. So head on over to everlastwelders.com today and see what machine is right for you. And as always, if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, make sure you type ARC Junkies in the comment section at checkout to get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. They have the cure for your biggest welding challenges. Whether it's maintenance or repair work, Rockmount has the consumables and electrodes to help you get the job done right the first time, every time. Whether you're welding unidentifiable steel alloys, welding cast steels or cast irons, need to gouge but don't have gouging equipment, doesn't matter. Rockmount has a rod or wire specifically designed to do just that, and they're built for the harshest working conditions imaginable. Got a weld you need to make but can't access the part to strip off the paint or grind the rust or wipe off the oil or grease? Not a problem. Rockmount's got a rod for you. These rods and wires are the ideal fix for your most difficult repairs. Stop trying to make these repairs with 7018 and 70S6. Those rods are great for initial fabrication and all, but once that piece is in service and it's in an area that's less than desirable for welding, then you want to go with Rockmount. Give them a call today and let them help you with your biggest welding repairs at 1-800-272-7637 and tell them the ARC Junkie sent you. And be sure to check out their website, rockmountwelding.com. All right, you know what time it is. Fire your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the ARC Junkies Podcast. Helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, Jacob Schofield, I've been wanting to chat with you for a while, man. How the hell have you been? I know you've been super busy. We got a lot to chat about, but what's going on in your world right now?
Man, I tell you what, we have been absolutely slammed. We're bidding all sorts of different jobs. We're doing all sorts of different things. Plasma tables. We're bringing people in to help them with their welding. We're going all over the country still. We're still traveling. So yeah, we've just got a ton going on. So it's not never ending. How's that?
Right. So now, when I first met you, you were pretty much running on the pipeline 100% of the time. We met down there in Houston, Texas at the SouthCoast Welding Competition a few years back, and you're a rig welder, but you're not doing as much of that anymore, right?
So not chasing the oil and gas so much. So a lot of shop work. We've been bringing in shop jobs and doing things like that, but still running the truck. We're doing hospitals, a lot of hospitals.
Okay.
So rerouting chill lines and air conditioning systems and boilers and all sorts of things that way. And so we still travel from all sorts of different hospitals, but we've kind of, not that I'm saying I've stepped out of the oil and gas, because I would still love to go back to oil and gas, but we've found other avenues to make money. So
right. That's what I was wondering. Did you get out of oil and gas by choice or like by necessity, because things were like slowly starting to dry up, and then you're like, you kind of see the writing on the wall, and it's like, well, we better get out and start getting into something else before, the bottom falls out?
So that was kind of a funny deal, because it wasn't slow. It was like, boom, it was done. The oil dropped out. I think for the first time ever, it was in a negative, and which is crazy, a negative barrel. And so we seen it came really fast, but we lucked out and we were on a flow line, and we were basically 3/4 of the way done with the line, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. And so they decided they were going to finish installing the line, which gave us about a month's worth of leniency to try to figure out what we were doing. And then the layoff came, and I think the company I was with, they laid off, I believe, over 60 rig welders and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it dropped out bad, and it's still really slow. So that was kind of what forced us into doing other things. How's that?
Yeah. But I mean, like you had the skill sets to be able to transfer from doing oil and gas to getting into chilled water lines and structural fabrication. I know you got your brother with you, Jed. He's like a structural guy, and then you were converting him slowly into oil and gas, right?
Oh yeah. So Jed, he's slick now. So like when we were both in the oil and gas, he was our structural welder, and he was a contract structural welder, which was super good for him. But then after everything kind of dropped off, he was one of the first ones to go, just because they had to keep the other pipe welders busy. And so he came home and started tigging and running downhill and stuff. And he's a slick little booger now, but that it kind of helped with the skill set. I mean, it's welding's welding. And if you can fit and do all that, then you can transfer to other areas. So kind of made it nice.
So how did you get your start in welding? I mean, have you always been in pipe welding? I mean, did you learn it just by being a hand on the job site, or did you go to school for it?
Man, people hate me for this, but I literally fell into it. I had no desire to be a welder. I didn't even know welders made money, to be honest with you. I thought it was maybe something that like basically you were a trades, and then if you needed something welded, you would go kind of like booger it together and just make it work, right? I didn't realize it was an actual trade. And so I was a horse trainer down in Texas, and I roped with a guy, and his brother needed a helper, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, I said, well, I don't know. I like being a horse trainer. And back then I was making $800 a month, and I was working every day.
Oh, big money.
Ton of work. Oh, huge money, man. We were rolling in it. And and so
money or horse
shit?
If
I wanted to. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But he asked me if I wanted to be a helper, and I said, nah, dude, I don't want nothing to do with that. Right. And I got to kind of talking with him a little bit, and he's like, I said, all right. I said, what's it make? And he threw out a couple $1,000 a week. And I was like, okay, let's go, baby. So I quit, went out as a helper, and then just learned that way. I helped a bunch of welders, and I got lucky because my first welder I helped, I still remember it. I opened my paycheck, and I was like blown away, right? I'd never made that much money in a week. And he watched me for a little while because I was in his truck with him. And he finally stopped, and he says, Jake, he says, that paycheck is a good paycheck. He says, there's nothing wrong with that check. You could do that for the rest of your life, and you'd be good. And he says, but I'm going to show you something. And he says, I'm not going to show it to everybody, but this is my paycheck. And he says, you did 75% of the work, but since I had the skill of being the welder, I made the money.
Yeah. And
so he showed me his paycheck, and it was 3 times what I freaking made. And he explained how you did it. And he was just a great guy. Freaking, it got me pointed in the right direction. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
So he helped me out that way big time. But that's how I got into it. I fell into it.
Yeah, that's like dumb luck, man. There's so many people that want to get into it. Like they don't know where to start or how to get into it.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel for them, but it's just like anything else. You just put your head down, figure out who you need to talk to, and go get after it. You know.
But I think you saw the opportunity, you know, to do great things with it, and you took it and ran with it. You know, because I mean, you're a badass pipe welder. I've watched your videos on WeldTube. I got to hang out with you.
Well,
thanks, while you guys were out there doing the bell hole. We did the competition there up at South Coast, and you guys were doing it. And like, I'm amazed because like,
that's right.
I do structural steel. You know, that's my background: structural steel, ornamental, and architectural stuff. So to go out there and like, we don't have a whole lot of pipelines here in Florida. So when I get out to Texas, I'm like a kid in a candy store. And it's like, man, this shit's cool. It's a whole different side of the coin. And just watch how you guys, you're like, oh yeah, you know, like we're gonna run it with a 60-10, then we're gonna, you know, flush it out. We're gonna slick it out with a hippie rod. And I'm like, what the hell what are you guys even talking about? Like, so the terminology is completely different. It's really cool.
So true. It's so true. But you got to give it to the structural guys too, because I always was under the impression if you could weld pipe, you could weld structural. But there is such a finesse to structural. I remember being in North Dakota, and we were welding a bunch of drilling rigs together. And of course we were the pipe welders. So we're walking around thinking we're all these
king shit on Turd Mountain. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. So we're I just remember welding all these 5-inch weld lines and all this weird stuff. And then I went over, and I can't remember this Hispanic guy's name, but him and his like 6 buddies were the structural welders. And dude, you want to talk about some of the most beautiful welds ever. I mean, dude, these dudes were so slick at what they did, and there's such a finesse to it, and I don't know how to explain it. Like pipe welding is just pipe welding. Eventually you just figure it out and you're good at it, but structural, it's got some finesse to it. And I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to the structural guys.
Yeah. Like wrapping corners is a little bit more difficult than kind of like following the contour of a pipe.
True. Yeah, true that. 'Cause you're in a position, and then all of a sudden you got to go from, you know, you're adjusting a foot instead of just a little bit, or rolling a wrist or something, you know?
Yeah.
Such a different style. You got to be willing to move.
Yeah. That's one thing. And then the thing like with structural is like a lot of times you don't have the luxury of like, oh, you know, I'll just walk over to the truck. You know, I kind of, you know, put a bad bead and I'm just going to walk over to the truck, grab the grinder and clean it back out. Like a lot of that stuff is like, you don't have that equipment with you. So you got to do it right the first time, or you're walking, you know, you got to climb down 60 feet, walk over, you know, a couple hundred yards to the truck, get what you need, run power. Like, so you really don't have that luxury a lot of times to like make mistakes. So, I mean, you really got to be on your game.
True that. And the other thing, it's just like the nightmare that just comes back into my head. The I-beam. Oh my gosh, dude, you messed up the I-beam. It's not like you just get a grinder and you get to grind around the piece of pipe. It's like scalers, end grinders. Yep. End grinders are freaking worst. I hate end grinders.
They're a pain in the ass, man. Like, especially like when you get into it like an internal corner and it doesn't lay in quite right. You got to get in there with, like you were saying, get in there with the end grinder and like clean all that stuff out. No, and then the filings everywhere. Yeah. It's once again, you know, weld it right the first time. You know, you try not to make those mistakes.
So it's I don't think the structural side gets the credit they deserve, because oh my gosh, sometimes that's just a nightmare. But anyways,
so how'd you end up getting into like the stairs and the handrails and all the different other type of work that you're doing? Because I mean, you're pretty much like the guy on the job site. You know, whatever you need done, you know, you're in there getting after it.
Yeah, dude. I tell you, the handrails and stuff, we did that out of just trying to get fed. Basically, we got back here, and basically there was no oil and gas. There was nothing. So we were like, okay, well, what do we do? Well, we grew up doing hardwood floors. And so that's what we knew was the construction side of things. And we're like, okay, what can we do to do that? Because over here, the housing market, just like, you know, everywhere, housing market is insane right now. And you can make a ton of money doing handrails and stairs and ornamental and things like that. And so it was out of necessity. We just kind of started getting involved in that. And then we started getting into the mechanical side of stuff too. So
now, did you already have your own business set up? Like when you were doing oil and gas, did you already have like Schofield Welding already set up as like an LLC or like a sole proprietorship? So you were like a contractor for these big companies and stuff, and then you just transitioned the line of work, or did you have to set up like a whole new company to do this?
No. So that was one nice thing is like we were already 1099. So I already had Schofield Welding LLC. We're set up as an LLC, limited liability company. Jed already had his LLCs, and like all my brothers have LLCs. And so it turned out it's nice because when we 1099 and we just bring in bro, they just go to work with us. So we were already set up for it. How's that?
Okay. So then what was the best way to like go about finding work with these different companies?
Cool. I mean, we're still doing it today. Like, we just drive around. Like if we want to go do handrail or stay in like the construction side of things, if a house is going up, we stop. I mean, it's obvious when you see a house going up, we just stop in, say hi. 90% of the time they've already got a guy that they go through. But we've had people that have told us, they just say, hey, we've already got somebody to do the railing. Thanks. And we'll leave a business card. And 3 weeks later, we get a call from that same guy. And they're like, hey, this dude can't do this. Can you come do it? Yeah, no problem. And so we do that. And then we go talk to like engineers. We talk to engineers a lot. So that's another tip. Yeti Welding actually was the one that kind of gave me that idea out of Utah. He says, go talk to the engineers because they're the ones designing the projects and they know who to get a hold of. And so we started talking to them, and we got an Antarctica fuel line that we built for way up, wherever Antarctica is. Anyways.
Down south.
So we built fuel lines for them, and that all just came from talking to engineers. So there's so many different ways to find work.
So now, where do you go about finding the engineers at? Where do they hang out?
Google.
That's the power of the internet, man.
Dude, I tell you what, I preach Google, and so many people I don't think believe me. But when I was looking for my first welding test, that's what I did. I literally Googled oil field companies, Colorado, and just started running down the line. I called Badger, which is a hydrovac company. They have nothing to do with welders. Hey man, you guys need welders? No.
You think about it, it's 2021 now. And I mean, we're getting ready to roll into 2022. Like the way that we used to find work, when we were coming up is completely different. You don't just grab the yellow pages anymore. Like nobody knows what the hell the yellow pages are, So, no. I mean, that's Google now. It's got all the information right there at your fingertips. You don't even have to go anywhere. You got the computer in front of you. You got a cell phone. You can call everybody up and, referrals. And, word travels, like you said, you left your business card at one place and, they called you up a couple weeks later. Yep.
And they already had somebody to do the rail, so just because somebody's already got somebody doesn't mean that you shouldn't not how would you say that? Pursue it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I mean, like your contractors and stuff, they get booked up too. And then their subs get booked up. And I mean, that's kind of when I used to do stairs, handrails and stuff down here, I would talk to the contractors, GCs and stuff like that. And they're like, same thing. I don't need anybody right now, but I'll keep your card on file. And now that his subs are completely busy doing work he's already bid out, when he's got new stuff, he's either got to turn it down or find another sub that's capable of doing it. And he's like, oh shit, that guy, he stopped by and, he dropped off his business card. He seemed like he had it all together. Let me call him and see if, this was within his scope of work.
Yep. Boom. And I think if people are looking to start a business right now, as far as the welding business goes, right now is no better time to do it because there is so much freaking work that the original contractors are so booked they can't take on anymore. And so it's allowing the little guys to come in and show what they got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, if you're willing to go chase it, it's out there. There's a ton.
So you said you're still chasing work, but I mean, now that you've got, because I know your wife, she used to travel with you. You guys, you'd go from job to job and line to line right there with the RV and, the pickup truck and the family and the dogs, the wife, the kid. And are you slowly starting to settle down with, now that you got a second child and everything, you bought a house, or you still going to get out there and chase it?
I still go out and chase it. She'll come on job with me every now and then. We still have the fifth wheel. We still haven't gotten rid of the fifth wheel. But as far as being on the road all the time, she's usually staying here for the most part, I guess. But as far as where the work goes, I don't care where it's at. We'll go get it.
You see oil and gas popping back off anytime soon, or you think it's going to shut down even further?
Such a hard question. I get asked that quite a bit, and the problem is I don't have my fingers in it no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to. Like I used to know where a lot of stuff was, and now I talked to a buddy today, and he says there's a few jobs kicking off, and I got some other buddies that are doing jobs, but it's not. I just don't know. I don't have the fillers in it anymore like I did.
Right. So when you were doing oil and gas and stuff, how did you find your next job? Because like you could see when the job's coming to an end because you're terminating it, right? So, I mean, like, how far ahead, from that termination point do you start looking for your next job? How do you go find that next job, because you went state to state.
Yeah, for sure. So in the oil and gas, they're not going to tell you when the job's ending. So you can kind of start seeing the silver lining and stuff. And most of it came from word of mouth. I mean, after my first test, you meet people on the jobs, you meet all these hands, you meet operators and welders and everybody, and you get everybody's phone number because eventually the job does end and you got 200 people that are going 200 different directions. And there's going to be one out of those 200 that are going to have a job, So as long as you got that guy's phone number, I mean, and you did your job, you were easy to work with, like you were good at what you did, they'll bring you on to the next one. And that's how I kept finding my work, was word of mouth after that. I mean, just like anything else, just like what you were saying when you were doing handrails. I mean, you do a really nice handrail and people love it, word of mouth.
Yeah.
And eventually it just spreads.
That's the biggest thing. You really don't have to advertise anything. You just got to do a good job.
Do a good job. Be quality.
That's the biggest thing is people go out on the job site, they'll put something together and they'll half-ass it just to get to the end of the job and, get that draw on the paycheck. And it's like, you're leaving your mark.
One-time deal.
You're leaving your signature on that, So, I mean, they're not going to call you back if that's the type of work that you're leaving behind. If they got to call somebody 100%. Else to fix it and clean it up and make it look good and, go through the welds and redo things, they're not calling you back. You want to be, you want them to be a repeat customer.
Hey, that's how you make money.
Yeah.
Chasing work will make the first check. But if you do a good job, that's what makes the fortune. I mean, if you're always chasing work and you're always having to go back and fix things, it spreads, and reputation is the biggest thing in everything. It doesn't matter what you do. Reputation is everything.
Yeah. And your reputation is going to precede you because the welding community, regardless of what sector of welding you're in, your reputation is going to precede you. So,
100%.
As soon as somebody hears, that guy's coming on this job. Oh, he's horrible, doesn't show up. He's always laying out, calling in, showing up drunk or, whatever.
Yep.
Your reputation is going to get there before you do,
You will have to leave states.
Yeah.
Eventually it will spread to the point where you can't work in that state. And if you can't work in that state, chances are you probably ain't going to work in anything bordering that state either. So it spreads too fast. And with social media and everything, if you are not a good person, an honest person, quality, doing your very best work, and it spreads throughout.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I had a guy call me up. He's like, hey, you recognize this name? And I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. It's a student that I had 6 years ago. And they're like, how is he? And I gave him my honest opinion. At the time when he got into the program, it wasn't that great, but after he got into it and started, making some effort and stuff like that, we were able to correct a lot of bad behaviors. And, to my knowledge, he's done great. But I mean, it's 6 years later, they're still calling me. Ask me to verify or vouch for people. And
yep.
Once again, man, it's a small community because as soon as they seen my name on that kid's, application or resume, cover letter, whatever he turned in that had my name on it. Yeah. They were like, hey, let's give him a call. He didn't leave my phone number. The guy that called me, I mean, obviously he knew me. We'd worked together on jobs before. So, I mean, people are, they're going to check you out. They're going to vet you. So, I mean, leaving a good reputation, good quality of work, showing up on time, having a good positive attitude. That's the biggest thing. And you can probably attest to that, is attitude is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That'll make or break you in a heartbeat.
Oh, I know of a couple guys, super amazing, incredible fabricators, slick TIG hands. I mean, the speed and the beauty of it, it's gorgeous. They cannot freaking work because they are so hard to deal with. And just personality wise, conflicts, they're amazing at what they do. But people would rather work with somebody that maybe ain't quite that amazing, but is easy to work with. Hard worker gets it done.
Yeah. So speaking of TIG, I seen you're trying your hand at TIG now. How's that working? It's coming along pretty good?
It whooped my ass.
It whooped your ass?
Yeah. Holy cow. Dude, that first month, thank goodness I had a really good guy, Carl, and his boy, Colder. Super awesome. Found out later Colder's like my 7th cousin. But anyways, I was on that job, and I'd done a little TIG. I never claimed to be a TIG hand, but just because I don't do enough of it. Mm-hmm. But we got on that job, and we did 3 miles of 4-inch stainless. And, we did a lot of it. And, man, I tell you, that first month absolutely mopped the floor with me. Holy cow. I have a couple TIG rigs that have heads that are ripped off of them just from beating those things against the ground. They're driving me nuts. But towards the end of that job, I can say now that I can TIG. So it's awesome. I love TIGging now. It's such a finesse. It's amazing. It's cool.
It's an art form.
It's an art. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to get into. We got a new instructor over there at the school, and he's got like a 24-year background in pressure vessels and boilers and all that other stuff. So he's done all the copper, nickel, and stainless and carbon and like all that stuff. So I want to find some time where like we can get some pipe in there in the shop, like because that's one thing that I want to learn just for the hell of it. Like why not? I want to learn how to like slick out a pipe.
The exotics are so cool.
Yeah.
But never, I ain't got the money to go buy exotics to play with it, but I'd sure love to play with somebody.
Oh, yeah. No, I want to learn on carbon first, and then, like, I'll start getting, a little bit more, get into it. But, like, I was watching the, like, Matt Arnold in Austin, Dr. Wells down there in Houston last weekend at the adult welding competition, and, just kind of watching them go through and just, run they were doing, like, I think it was a 2-inch Schedule 10, as part of the test in the 2G position. So just, watching them, checking out like their little tricks and how they're doing things. And, it's really neat just to watch other people at their craft, something that they're good at. I could sit back and watch others do like, their craft to a high precision, for hours on end. I find it really cool watching other people do their job.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get somebody that's that good, like Matt and all those guys,
mm-hmm.
It is just like you said, it's entertainment to watch them. Cause I know personally myself, I've never done sanitary, but if I'm going to go do sanitary, I'm calling Matt.
Oh yeah. Matt's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the dude. So, he's really good. And he likes the stuff. And like we were saying, like leaving your mark on the material. That's your signature. When you put something down, that's the reason he's getting called back, because his signature, the type of work that he performs and the work that he leaves behind on the job site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So are you still doing YouTube videos with WeldTube? Because I know you were doing that for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So we just got back from Wisconsin. We actually wound up going over to Miller.
Oh, you went to the Appleton, Miller, the facility up there. And how was that?
So dope. Those guys, number one, they know how to party. Number two, that is the coolest facility ever. Everybody already knows I'm a huge Miller fan. I run a Pipe Pro. All of our shop machines are Millers. And so I already super trusted Miller machines. But to go through a bunch of what they did, a lot of it you can't talk about because it's all super behind the doors, right?
Secret squirrel shit.
Oh, buddy. But, they got some stuff in there that they put these machines through so much hell that they're reliable tested, they're incredible.
Yeah.
So they got a cool facility. Everybody there loves being there. And then of course, Cody Bowman, the Pipe Pro guy, that's my bread and butter, man. That dude, he has fine-tuned that machine to do anything you want it to do. It's amazing.
I haven't had a chance to mess with it, but it's got RMD on there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ran a bunch of that or any of that?
RMD.
The regulated metal deposit.
Hang on,
it's kind of like It's regulated metal deposit for like doing open roots on pipe and plate.
You know, I might need to dig into it a little deeper. I ain't quite sure. I probably need to call Cody and figure out how to set it up.
It's slicker than shit. Like we run it all the time. So like most of the stuff I run is, especially at work, is Lincoln. And so Lincoln has STT, which is surface tension transfer, but Miller's version is RMD, regulated metal deposit. And they both do the same thing under a different name. I mean, you could split hairs as to which one does it better, but essentially they're supposed to do the same thing. And it's meant for like if you got bad fit up. I mean, and when you prep the edge, you set it up with a knife edge. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can put a slick root in there. Like even me, a dumb iron worker that doesn't do a whole lot of pipe, I could put a pretty decent root in with STT. And it's really cool because it prevents the whiskers from going through. So like, you know, you got your MIG gun and everything. A lot of times they'll run like a short circuit route and you get the whiskers poking through. Well, this stuff actually, because of the voltage sensing and the information that's going back and forth from the machine while you're welding, it tells it exactly when to break off. So you can actually set your depth of penetration on your root. You know, so if you want to get in there and do like a flush or a 1/16 root, you can kind of, if you're good enough, you can program it into the machine exactly what you want by the variables that you set it with. Obviously you got wire feed speed and volts, but you can also adjust all to mark. Lincoln, Miller, I think you can adjust, or what the hell do they call it? Lincoln's big on trim, inductance. Yep. So Miller does a lot with inductance. So kind of like same thing, different umbrella. And the amount of settings and stuff and the control you have over the puddle is ridiculous. I did a 1/2-inch open root on 1/8-inch plate downhill, and it put like we set it up just for like the worst case scenario, and it put like a super slick pass on the back side of it. And I was like,
no kidding. Damn,
like it's just insane the level of control you have with the puddle. And it's just like a modified short circuit transfer. It's really cool. You got to, if you've got a Pipe Pro, you should be able to do RMD.
Okay, sounds good. So I know that they had one set up, and I'd never ran wire before, and it had RMD. And after you started kind of talking about it, I remembered that they had one set up, and I'd never ran wire before. And dude, that thing was amazing. It freaking just slicked it in there, filled it up in a pass, and we were ready to cap. And I was like, whoa. This is going to take my job.
Yeah, you might want to check into it, but I think some of the suitcases that are coming out now are capable of like RMD and STT. I could be wrong. That might be something that's coming a little bit further down the pipeline.
The suitcase will have RMD. Okay.
Yeah, I would look into it. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that like there's a lot of people that are out in the field down here in Florida that they're actually taking like the big, like the S350s from Lincoln with the advanced module, and they're running RMD on the route out in the field, and then they're doing like a fill and cap with flux core.
Okay, I was gonna say I was trying to figure out where on my machine it would have RMD because I'm out here looking at it right now. I'm just looking through the window, but okay, it's on the suitcase.
No, it's typically so it's on the Pipe Pro. I know that, but I don't know if they have it on the suitcases yet. But I'm thinking that's the next step.
Okay, I got to talk to Cody because I would like to at least try it.
Yeah, especially if you're out in the field, like doing chilled water line and stuff like that. I mean, just to be able to get in there with that, you know, and just tie it in really quick. And it's meant for like speed, accuracy, and I mean it's just like very repeatable. Especially, you know, like if you're prepping stuff out in the field, you don't have the luxury of cutting it with a saw. So a lot of times you're out there cutting it with a cutoff wheel and dressing it up. You know, especially on like your exotics because you can't flame cut it. You know, so you got to put your bevel and all that stuff on there. And it just does really good on like poor fit up, knife edges, all that stuff. It's good for filling in gaps.
I'm going to call Cody. I'm going to figure out how to get that on there.
Yeah. So what else did you guys do when you're up there at Wisconsin? Like, what are some of the stuff you can talk about?
Oh, let's see. What is it? Oh, induction heating.
Dude, that stuff is sick.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely insane. They had a freaking chunk of plate that was like 4 inches thick. I mean, it was huge. It was 4 inches thick. I bet it was 2 feet wide and about 4 foot long. Just ridiculous. I've never seen plate that big. I'm pretty sure it came off a beam or something. But anyways, they heated that thing up. I want to say he got it up to like, shoot, I'd be lying if I told you what he got it up to. But I'd say upwards like 600 plus in like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was insane. I was blown freaking away. And then we had the coil wraps for the induction. Stuck it around a piece of 6-inch, 1.5-inch wall, I believe. And he had that thing heated up in about 15 minutes, but you could still touch the coils with your hands.
Yeah.
Insane.
That part.
So cool.
I went to, what the hell is it? The steel, it was like the Steel Erectors Conference down here in Florida. And I guess they're doing another one in April up in like North Carolina, I think it is. But Genie Lifts had me out there go run a demo on their new machines. So you can actually weld from the platform. But Lincoln was also out there, and Miller was out there, and it was the first time that I seen that induction heating like in person. And dude, they do some crazy stuff with that. They'll like, because like especially for like structural, because you get like an I-beam to a plate connection and everything like that, and you got to preheat, and they're building like these different molds and stuff to wrap this coil around to where you can get in there and like you said, preheat this stuff up to like 350, 450, within the course of like 15 minutes. You wrap it around the base plate and you heat it up and boom, it's done. You grab the coils by your hand, move no gloves, you move everything out of the way, and then you weld it up. And it's super slick how like the technology to be able to heat that massive steel in that short amount of time without having to like whip out a flame and sit there for hours on end trying to preheat this thing.
Oh my gosh, dude. It would be an absolute money saver if that's what you did every day. You would need one of those. Like, they're just freaking insane. And if you wanted to cook lunch on a piece of pipe, you could probably use that thing.
Oh yeah. Just throw it right on the inside of it. Like heat up your grilled cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
That's
get that old burrito stuffed inside there.
Yeah. So what are you up to now? Are you still doing like your YouTube video? Well, actually, hold on. Let me dial it back a little bit. How did you get into YouTube? I mean, was that because you used to like, especially when you were on the road, you were a lot more, I don't know, like more active with social media and stuff like that. Vocal. There you go. Yeah. No, I used to tune in Mondays all the time and everything and all that cool stuff. So like, when did the YouTube channel come about?
So YouTube came about 2016 when everything shut down the first time. It was the first like real downslope in the oil and gas that I'd ever been through. So I didn't really know what to expect or how to handle it. Anyways, pretty much almost lost everything. Didn't know how to find work. Didn't know how to do all that. So I just remember being in North Dakota, and that's when we were welding on them drilling rigs. That was my job after 2016. So I was like stoked to be up there, right? And just trying to make a freaking living after we'd been eating nothing but, feathers for a while. But anyways, got up there, and I just remember sitting in my truck, and I was like, what is my freaking problem? Like, what was the problem when I just about lost everything? And I said, I didn't know enough people. Enough people didn't know who I was, and I didn't know enough people. So I started listening to Grant Cardone and all those guys. Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows who they are, but anyways, he's pretty vocal. So got to listening to him, and I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And started a YouTube channel, started building it up, and then it just kind of took off. And it transferred from me trying to meet more people to me trying to help helpers, because I've been watching these helpers, man, and all these guys come out and they're freaking like gung-ho. They're ready to like learn how to be a pipe welder, right? They want to be a pipeliner. And I watched all these, it was mostly the younger generation of welders, and they just hammered these dudes. I mean, they probably because they came from a welder that treated them like crap or whatever. So they thought that was part of the deal, right? You just treat everybody like crap, and eventually they grow up and they get tough and they go out. Well, I'd watch these helpers, man. They get so, and there's a fine line between pushing too much and pushing, and I'd watch these helpers. They'd come out just ready to rock and roll. And then 3 months later, they were so burned out, they didn't care if they ever went back out there, and they'd quit and they'd go do something else. And they a lot of them never come back. And so the YouTube channel kind of morphed into, what can I do to help get people to, before they come out or while they're out, think of the next step, how to grind a piece of pipe, give them a little bit of a basic idea of what to expect when you get out there, and hopefully save them a couple ass chewings, And then it morphed into like what happened in 2016. And that's where the Money Mondays came out, is like, basically this is everything I did wrong. And these are ways you can avoid it. And so that was kind of where the Money Mondays came from. And then now it's morphed into, I mean, dude, this thing just keeps morphing, but it's morphed into how to start a shop business. Like if you want to start your own shop, how to find work, how to bid the work, and just things like that. So it's constantly changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched the builds you guys did on the flatbed. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, you had everybody out there working on it at one point.
Yeah. Oh, which one? The red truck or?
No, I think it was a white truck. Was
it my little white single cab?
I think so. You guys had pulled the bed off and you were turning it into a flatbed.
Yep. Okay. Yep. That's the one I'm running right now.
Yeah, it was a slick build, man. It was like, it's cool because I'm like, you see all these trucks down the road, but it's like, where do you start? Where do you start? Especially if you're trying to break out, get out there on the oil and gas line or set up your own rig. Like,
yeah.
How do you set this thing up? How do you build it from scratch? You guys went through and kind of showed, how to lay out the square tubes and, cut the plate and fit everything up and fabricate and like different things you want to think of, because it's got to be, you want it to look cool, but you also want it to be practical and useful.
Functional. Yep. And CSTL beds, Colt Nelson, he was from Bakersfield, but he's actually moved up here to Pinedale, Wyoming. Good buddy, welded with him for a long time, but he builds beds. And so we got a lot of good tips from him, and so he helped a bunch on that. So got to give a shout out to Colt Nelson, CSTL beds.
There you go. So now I see that you're kind of migrating more into the shop lately with, getting some technology in there. I see you got a CNC plasma cutter in there. What the hell? What is that like? Because I remember as an iron worker walking into the school, like, oh shit, you want me to teach this? Hell, I got to learn it first. Like, I don't even, where's the on button? No. So, I mean, like, what's that whole process like, trying to go from, coming out doing on-site fabrication, using grinders and portabands to cut everything, to now you've got something that's like a super precise piece of machinery, to be able to knock out parts and stuff.
Oh, dude, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I got a fast cut CNC table, and Russ and Charlie and all them guys, they're actually from Canada. And when you get one from them, they actually spend, I think I was on the phone with Charlie for 2 hours, and he took control of the computer, and thank goodness, because I recorded it with the camera. Mm-hmm. And he walked us through how to set the whole thing up, right? So that was super helpful. But then it came to, I didn't even know how to run a plasma. I think the last time I ran the first and last time I ever ran a plasma was at Tech when we all met up over there. Mm-hmm. And pretty sure I threw sparks 20 feet in the air because I was just screaming through this piece, right? And this lady was staring at me like, what the hell are you doing? I don't know. Anyway, so I didn't even know how to run the consumables. And so it was a learning curve. It was a learning curve. Glad I did it, but super learning curve.
Now I see you're cutting out the little camp stoves and everything now.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is I started the pipe grills and built templates for those. Well, now my thoughts was I built this custom bed and I want to build a new grill for it. Well, so I built this grill, and then I had people asking for kits of them. And so then I was like, okay, yeah, let's sell kits of them. So that thing's amazing because I can just slap a piece of plate on there and walk away, and the thing will cut it all out for me.
Yeah. They're super freaking awesome. They save a whole lot of time. I think the drawing portion is always the biggest pain in the ass, is trying to figure out, how to use the drawing software. But once you get that done, it's pretty simple once you get going. But you got to get in there. You got to put the reps, just like anything else. You got to kind of teach yourself. And thank God there's the University of YouTube where you can pretty much pull up damn near anything, with whatever drawing software or cutting software you're using, you're able to have access to it. And then the different forums on Facebook and, all that stuff kind of helps out a lot.
Thank goodness for YouTube. Holy cow.
Now you still got plans to crank out more videos and tutorials and how-tos and all that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So a lot of the stuff we're doing right now is handrails. So we're actually starting. So I've got videos kind of put back for that. Basically, we're going to be showing how to build a handrail, how to pull the measurements for handrail, all of that stuff. Because when we first started, that handrail ate our flipping lunch, man. I mean, I'm talking like a half a degree, and all of a sudden you're an inch high at the bottom of this thing. It's insane. So we're starting that. We're going to be putting out videos on how to do that. And then we're starting a CNC plasma business, basically, of, hey, you got your table. This is how you find work. This is how you bid work. The mistakes we made. So like on this last video I put out, we only made like an $800 profit, $860 profit, where looking back on it, we should have put in, you know, X and X and X, and basically we could have made more, but we didn't, because we didn't really know. So It was a learning thing. So that's kind of what we're working on right now, is trying to teach people through our own mistakes, how to get your table, how to set it up, and then how to make money with it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by AHP. AHP makes great machines for a fraction of the cost. They carry a full line of stick, MIG, and TIG welders for those of you who want to get into welding at home. Whether you're learning in the garage, practicing at home, or just want to weld something around the house for weekend projects, check out ahpwelds.com and get a machine for under $1,000 without sacrificing performance. That's ahpwelds.com. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools, makers of heavy-duty welding tables, toggle clamps, magnets, and fabrication tools. Strong Hand is a big supporter of education. If you're a welding student and you want to register your school for a free gift pack, head on over to stronghandtools.com/arcjunkies to register, and Strong Hand will send the school a starter pack full of all kinds of goodies. Now let's get back into the show. So what are some of the lessons that you learned, you know, bidding that first job and kind of not coming out as far ahead as you thought you'd be?
Yeah, man, dude, everything comes into account. Everything eats at the bottom line. Everything does. And so you got material, you got, you know, time. Time is everything. So you still got to draw this thing. You still have to send it out to the computer. You still got to set everything up. So time is a big thing. But then you don't pay attention to your diesel that you just drove over there, took measurements, came back. Then you still have to drive back over there. So diesel's a big thing. Powder coat. What else? Consumables, electricity. There's so much to it, man. It's always eating at that line, and you just forget to put it in.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best way?
For free.
Yeah, no. What's the best way you found out so far not to like lose your ass on these jobs? Because you're bidding, you know, handrail and repair work and new installs and stuff like that. What's the best way you found to make sure you kind of capture all those hidden expenses that are always eating at the bottom line?
We've got a list. So like we've always got a list out in the shop, and it's got, you know, diesel, powder coat. It's got all of our expenses that we've figured out so far. Mm-hmm. And when we bid the job, or when we go look at the job, we say, all right, it's X distance. We're going to have to go over there and go measure it. We're going to have to go over there and test fit it. And then we still have to go install it. And so there's 3 round trips right there. Okay, add that into the diesel cost. And then powder coat. Okay, we got to drive the powder coat. We got to drive back from powder coat. Yep. And so I just got a list that has blanks in it. And basically we figure out what the expenses are going to be, what it's going to take to do it. And then we, like, as far as the handrail and all that goes, we charge by the linear foot.
Right.
And so, yeah. And so that's kind of how we break that down.
Okay.
You just want to cover all your bases.
Yeah. I gotta introduce you to the world of Microsoft Excel, because
yes,
like how you've got all that listed out. Like when I bid a job, I go through and I try to write down like, you know, the same thing, like electricity, electricity for me is kind of negligent, but cause I'll run off a gas generator a lot of times. But, you know, you put in all your different line items, you know, like here's the hardware, because, you know, when you get out to the field, you know, it's not going to magically set itself. So now, like, I need concrete bits, and, you know, I need drive pins, or, you know, concrete anchors, or any of that stuff. Yep. Grinding wheels, shielding gas, tungsten, you know, whatever's going on in there. So I'll make a line item and then price everything out. And then you can add certain percentages and stuff at the end of the job. So, like, typically, like a lot of the stuff that I did after my material and like all my line items and everything are in there, I'll add like 20% to whatever my material cost is for consumables. So that covers like all your grinding wheels, hard rocks, shielding gas, you know, all that stuff like we just discussed. And then once the whole job's kind of done, once you've got all the like the labor in there, consumables, material, everything, then you add in your profit margin. So the cool thing is when you go from one job to the next, your key expenses are always listed inside that Excel spreadsheet. And then you just populate your new values, and then it'll generate, here's what it should cost. And here's how much money we're going to make at the end of the day.
That's what I need. That's what I need. I need that.
We could set it up like right here via Zoom, man. Well, I could share my screen. If you got Microsoft Excel, I can kind of guide you through it. I'm not a master at it by any means, but I know enough to be dangerous on it. And I've worked it out pretty decent to where, the different jobs and stuff that I do, I make a pretty decent living at it.
Yeah. Yes. So I need to, yes, definitely when we get done with this, I'll give you the screen of my computer. You set it downloaded, but I'll download it.
All right. Yeah, it's a pretty slick system, man. And I use that for all my invoicing too, because I can go through and build all my invoices. Like I'm kind of old school. Like I used Quicken Books for a while, when I had my business up and going, and just because it made sense. But now it's all I'll put out maybe 6 or 7 invoices a month. I might get back into Quicken Books, but for the most part, it's really simple just to build one spreadsheet in Excel. And then I punch in, here's the charge, here's the quantity, and then it kind of populates all the totals and all that stuff in there. So it just makes life a lot easier. And I don't have to pay for it. I just build a template and boom, it's done.
That's what I'm thinking, because I think Quicken Books cost me $70 a month or something.
Yeah. So that's eating away at your bottom line again. It's all the things you don't think about. And then
everything eats that.
Running your website, now you got to pay for, you got to pay a monthly fee for your website and everything. And then your server and your email and all that shit, it starts eating away. There's a lot to it, man.
Mm-hmm. There is.
So what are your next steps in the building? Or what are your next steps in the business? Because it seems like you're into a little bit of everything. You've always got things cooking. Even though you've changed a little bit since last time we met in Houston, you're still money motivated, man. You're a millionaire in the making. Oh, so you've always got things going on. There's wheels always turning and stuff. What's your next big step?
Man, the next step I think is what I'd love to do is try to get these younger dudes in here and show them, a pipeline style setup and teach them how to weld downhills. Give them a basic understanding of it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be no school course or anything like that. But if you came for a week, I could get you to where you could run it pretty good, and then you could go home and do it yourself and figure it out, give you a good foundation. How's that? So that's kind of what we're working on that way. And then just always building on YouTube, always building on Instagram, stuff like that. So right now we're just collecting everything we can. Getting into the big iron right now. I forgot to tell you that.
Are you really?
Yeah. We got an airport hangar we're getting started on. So we just bid it 2 days ago and probably do that one right after Christmas. So I've never messed with that stuff before.
Nice. Get you some good hands and stuff out there. That stuff, I've worked with some sketchy crews before. It can go downhill quick. Just, get some good guys and everything lined up. Jed knows what he's doing and, rigging and everything. It's whatever you do, don't cheap out on the rigging, man. Get good, quality.
Good rigging.
Good quality rigging. Invest in a spreader bar. That's going to make life easier. I've worked for a company where we actually had to we're like, okay, what's the last column that we need to place in this building? Okay, that's going to be our spreader bar. That's kind of how I learned how to get into this stuff.
Nice.
You turn the I-beam side. Don't do this. I'm not advocating for this one eye.
So this is
what you don't do. Yeah, don't take notes on this. This is what you don't do. If you want OSHA to show up and start passing out fines, it's the thing to do, don't do that. But we'd figure out, because the company I was working for, they were dirt poor and they, barely breaking even sometimes. And I'd go to the bank and be like, man, I hope the check clears this week, or, hopefully they'll pay me today. But, that's kind of how I got into ironwork. It's not as, glorious and glamorous and filled with money, like they say, in the beginning. But yeah, we'd take a column and we'd turn it on its side and put it on the forklift, and we'd use that as a spreader bar to hang our rafters. Build you a good quality spreader bar, 20, 24 foot long, and get you some good high quality rigging and stuff like that. We picked up a lot of buildings, set rafters and stuff with just an extended boot, like an off-road forklift, like a lull. So instead of bringing a crane in, there's a lot of stuff you can do on a lull, man. And you can do it the safe way too.
Those things are amazing.
Yeah, you can do it safe. So we'd go in there and set all of our columns up, plumb them out and then put in like purlins along the side to hold that up. And then you go to set your rafter sections, and then you can tie in your top purlins and stuff like that, to hold everything in, and then you level it all off. It goes pretty quick once you get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Right on. Are you going to do the sheeting too?
Are we? Oh yeah. We're doing sheeting too.
Oh, damn.
Never done it. I've seen it done, but, I don't know. We're going to see what happens. We'll put our fingers in anything. So we're just getting after it, whatever it takes.
If you got to do your sheeting, the coolest thing, like you can line up your packs of what they call R panel and all that. Line them up there at the base and put a 2x4 on the bottom, nice and flat, and just have somebody smack it with a hammer until all your sheets are equal length. And then clamp your sheets together, figure out where your purlins are going to run, and then pre-drill your packs of your R panel with an 1/8" drill bit. That way, when you go to stand them up, and then level off all your purlins. So we'd go through with 2x4s, and we'd make sure all of our purlins are level. That way, they all have the same center line. That way, when you grab a sheet, you throw it up, you're kind of not eyeballing like you would with decking. You're not eyeballing where that Z girder is. You just drill right in the hole. Boom, 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 and like you'll be knocking it out pretty quick, man.
Way faster.
Oh yeah.
So on the decking side of it. Dude, I'm glad you mentioned all this. On the decking side, the contractor was talking about some gun that thunks that decking down. What is that called?
Okay, so if you're getting into, are you screwing it in or nailing it? Because Hilti makes a badass freaking, like a powder actuated, like you've seen Hilti guns, that like a powder actuated one.
Oh yeah.
They've got them for decking now. You can drive one of them freaking nails into an I-beam right through the sheet.
So when we were doing the hospital, that's what they were doing, was just shooting them in.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like a damn jackhammer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got
like a little.
It's got like a little 22 capsule. Yeah, it's just like a 22 blank on the inside for the smaller ones. I'm not sure what they run in the bigger ones. They always like all the decking I did down here in Florida. We had to weld it all, and that shit sucks. But if you can drive it in with one of those Hiltis, that'll save you a lot of time. What's that?
So it's calling out for both. So really? We got to weld puddles and shoot it in.
Oh, damn.
So I don't know what for.
Yeah, I'd find your like local Home Depot or Hilti or find out like maybe United Rentals. I'm not sure who you got up in that area, but see if you can rent one of those guns first because they're awfully proud of that stuff. You don't want to go out there and buy one for a first job. That'll eat the hell out of that bottom line.
Hilti is proud of all their stuff. They make great stuff.
It's high quality.
High quality, high price.
Yeah, I was looking at. I had to do a job a couple weekends ago at a waste management facility, and had to put in concrete redheads. And I was like, I want to find the redhead brand because it's reliable. They do great. The drive anchors and all that. Like that's what I want. And all they had was Hilti. And like I like Hilti. Hilti makes a great product. But you know what? For like $30 for 2 anchors, no sir. I'm going to go get a box of 25 over here at Lowe's for like $60.
Yep, exactly. Job's already bid, boys.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it in for that.
Yeah, I didn't put that line item in there. I checked your website to see what you had. Like, I'm just going to keep driving around here until I find something a little bit more in my price range. Yep. That's odd that they got you putting them in with the, driving them in with the nails and then also welding it in.
Oh, yeah. And I think the other thing we're doing is putting the Nelson studs in too.
Oh, shit.
So.
Now, are you allowed to weld those in manually, or do you have to use a stud gun?
No, they're going to let us weld them in, so that's good. That way I ain't got to bring up some big generator, Yeah. I don't know if the Pipe Pro would punch that in there.
Fuck no, dude. They're running like 1,000 amps on those things.
That's what I thought. I need 2 of those things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think most of your Nelson studs probably, I mean, they range in different diameters, but for, if they're going to be doing a poured pad on top, I would venture to say they're going to use at least a 1/2 inch diameter minimum.
Yeah, 4 inches tall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to need at least a 500 amp machine minimum. Well, you're probably going to need 500 amps minimum. So you're going to need a higher machine. But those are pricey, too, to rent them out.
That'd be the only way we could do it then.
Yeah, one of the first shops I worked in, I mean, we would always weld them out. I didn't even know that they made a stud gun because, like, we would always have to manually weld them. And then I seen, I seen other job sites, and I'm like, what the hell are those guys doing? They're like, oh, yeah, they're welding Nelson studs. I was like, well, they're doing it wrong. You're supposed to use a 7018. They're doing it wrong.
They're going way too fast.
Yeah, they shouldn't be getting that much quality, or that much quantity done in one day.
Oh,
but yeah, that's a hell of a setup, man. You need like 1,000 amp welder, and because I mean it's just like instantaneous. You got to get all those little. They got like ceramic collars that go around there to put it on there to kind of catch it, keep everything from oxidizing, and then you got to bust them off and wire brush them, and yeah.
I'm hoping the contractor might not have known, but I'm hoping that the freaking iron company sending the deal already has them welded on. So we'll see. But if they don't, then we're manually doing that.
That's a painstaking job, brother. It sucks.
We got our T&M, so we're good.
Oh, dude, if you got it on T&M, you're solid. You could pick your own profit margin at that point. Yeah, it's like a change order. Be like, oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, you're not gonna like the price, but I can definitely do it for you.
It's gonna take me a week to weld out one of them freaking beams.
Yeah, if you can, I mean, and that's an industry where you can make quite a bit of money as doing like prefabricated metal buildings. And I mean, like, especially airports, dude. Like you said, you're doing an airplane hangar. We did more airplane hangars than I could shake a stick at. Like, I got tired of airplane hangar. Oh, yeah, dude, because you roll up in, especially, like, if they're putting in a new facility or extending them. Like, I've worked, I did private airplane hangars in Orlando, Kissimmee, West Palm Beach, Tampa, like, all over the state of Florida, putting airplane hangars in, especially for all, like, the rich people that go in there. They set up, like, airplane hangars like you would a storage unit. They'll put, like, 200 bays in. And it's just easy money because they're all the exact same thing. And then if you can hit them with the install, the doors are typically done by a separate contractor. But if you can figure out how to weld the door systems in, which is, especially if you got like a flux core welder in a suitcase, or you got a suitcase and you can run flux core, easy money, dude. Easy money.
Really?
Oh yeah. And then you just skin that thing just like the rest of the building. Look into that. Like, I mean, you're going to need a crew. But company I work for down here, I mean, they started off just like a tiny little shop. Well, hell, they started out of an office building and they were storing all the materials and excess stuff. They bought like a couple acres out here in Claremont, or not in the Claremont, but like they bought a couple acres, like a vacant lot, and that's where they would store all their excess material. So when they needed to, like do a job or something or do a change order, they had some material kind of like back at the yard, as they called it. But yeah, they just had like a small little tiny office building, and then they probably had like maybe 2 acres where they would store everything. And now they've got like a 15-acre facility. They've got companies in 2 different states, and they travel all around the U.S. putting, greenhouses in, airplane hangars, storage units, office buildings, all kinds of shit.
That's what we need. Yeah. Jason, let's go.
And it's simple work. I mean, like, damn, now I'm talking myself into getting it done.
You're like, I need a crane. I need a crew. I'm ready to go.
I mean, and seriously, what we used to do with two forklifts on a job site, I mean, now they have 2 cranes. So they'll send a crane to one job site, they'll send a crane to the other job site, and now it's a little bit easier. But I mean, we used to do it all the time. We'd build like a rafter section on the ground, so we'd bolt the rafters together and put the bar joists between them, and then we'd pick them up in tandem on a forklift. And we'd raise them up, 50 foot in the air, just kind of talking to one another, and just set it right up on top of the columns. Have the guys go up in the extended boom or the man lifts, and then do a bolt up connection, tie it in temporarily, and then come down, pick the next section up, and just start hanging them. Get it all bolted in, get it welded up, and then start doing the roof.
Dang.
Yeah, we'd have it in there like clockwork.
The tin and everything.
What's that?
Did you guys do all the tin and everything?
Yeah, but like you'd put like R30 insulation, wrapped around the walls, or R19 or whatever insulation. Drop the insulation around the walls, pre-drill all the panels, stick the panels up against the wall, hit them in with a screw gun. Same thing up on the roof. You roll that insulation out and do like different roof systems, whether it was R panel or it gets seamed, or a Butler roof or anything like that. Nucor buildings. My favorite was always Nucor. Butler makes a great building. They were like, at the time that I was doing it, they're a German engineered company. So everything was already pre-drilled. So if you knew how to run a string line and a laser and a level, and you can get everything nice and square and plumb, that whole building would just bolt itself together damn near. I mean, even the screws for the R panel, everything would line up right there in the girders. It's a great system.
Dang. Gee, this got my brain working now. Cause we're over here by like Jackson Hole and big private jet stuff, all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, let's moving on to the next thing, baby.
Yeah. I mean, you can make, but you got to be careful. You can lose your ass just as fast as you can make money on it.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with it.
Oh man. I've been learning my lessons on a bunch of these jobs.
There's actually, damn it, I can't remember the name of the book, but there's a book you can get that's kind of like, damn it, I had when I was in school for my construction management degree, they talked about it all the time. There's a specific book you can buy, and it's rather pricey, but essentially it tells you what like your average per square foot cost is for a specific type of work. So if you want to get into tile, or if you want to get into structural steel buildings, it gives you like a good no shit estimate as to what you should be charging per square foot, or what other companies are charging per square foot for, like, you know, within like a 2 to 3 year span. And I can't remember the name of the book. I want to say it's kind of like, damn it, I can't remember. It's a big blue book. But yeah, like Google like average construction cost per square foot or something like that. But it kind of gives you like a good line to go off of. I'll have to, if I can figure out the name of the book, I'll text it to you. All right, just going to cut in here really quick because I did do some research. The name of the book that I'm referring to is called RS Means. You can go to rsmeans.com. They've got the books on there. There's some software and all kinds of other stuff. But if you own your own business, if you're running a business related to anything in construction, go ahead and hop on there. It's not a cheap system. It's not a cheap book. They're awfully proud of their stuff, but it's definitely a great resource and good information to have if you're running your own business. Let's get back into the show.
Yeah, dude, because I want to see it bad. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Just to read it and just know what it says is good.
Yeah, and it essentially just kind of tells you what other trades are charging, you know, like on a national average. So that way you're not like underbidding yourself.
Well, hopefully they got one for like the last 6 months, because it's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't. Well, and that's true. That's, now that I think about it, it might not be as accurate now just because of all like steel costs and everything. Yeah, just like all construction materials and like, I mean, hell, lumber's like gone up through the freaking roof, and like steel prices are insane right now. I think they're slowly coming back down because like we buy the same stuff all the time at the school, every cohort for a new class that's coming in. And I think probably, I want to say 8-9 months ago, it was damn near doubled what we used to pay. And now it's gotten back down to where it's in with about $500 to $600 of what we paid, you know, a year and a half ago.
Jeez, man, I tell you, this bed that I built, the same bed last year would have cost me about $2,500, and right now it's cost me $6,000.
Damn.
To build that bed, and I'm like, what the freaking world? How the heck do you make any money on that?
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy the other day. I was like, oh yeah, we're talking about bidding this job out, and I was like, yeah, all we need is like a 1/4 inch sheet of plate, and I was like, that's like $250, and I was like, oh no, wait, hold on, let me look that up, and it was like closer to $480. Yeah.
Oh man, you guys are getting good prices down there right now.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
We just bought a piece of 1/4 inch about a week ago, and it cost us $660.
Damn.
For a piece of 1/4 inch, and I was like, holy crap, dude! A piece of 1/2 inch. We built a table 2 years ago. That piece of 1/2 inch cost me $600. And I was like, what the heck? Anyway.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping prices start coming down and like supply chain issues start getting resolved, because this bullshit, man. It's a bad time to, I mean, it's a good time because the work still needs to be done, and people are still willing to pay. You know, even if you have
the money for it.
Yeah. Even, I mean, like if you've got like all your ducks in a row and everything like that, people are still willing to pay it. And you just, like I told my buddy, we'll just pass, you know, instead of the savings, at this point, you got to pass the cost on to the customer. It's the cost of doing business, you know. It
sucks, but it just is what it is.
Yeah, and you just explain to the client, hey, look, you know, prices have gone up significantly, and now's probably not the best time to build this, you know, whatever you need done. Or maybe it is, and if it is, you know, they got the money to do it. But they know what they're getting into, because they're probably dealing, you know, the same thing with electricians and stuff. They're dealing with the same cost of masonry, excavation, because, I mean, look at the cost of freaking diesel. I mean,
what are you guys paying right now?
I have no idea. I got a gas car. I don't look at the gas prices because it just pisses me off. So it's like, I know I need to get gas. What am I going to do? Not get gas, or like just look at the price so I can bitch about it later? So
Yeah.
I quit looking at it. I know that it's costing me, probably $30 more to fill up than it was, this time last year. It sucks.
Yep.
But I mean, diesel's probably even worse.
Last year was insane, dude. I could fill up a whole welding truck from empty, machine, everything for $50. And now I can't even fill up the tank for less than 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa, man. And we're like 410 or something.
I got a buddy that owns his own semi and does like freelance trucking and stuff like that. And he posted a picture on Facebook the other day.
$1,000.
And yeah, just to fill up his tank. And I was like, holy shit, as an independent operator, it's ridiculous the amount of money that they're paying. And like shipping prices, like look at what it used to cost to ship something. Now I mean, like they're charging service charges of like $1,100 for delivery. It's like holy shit, like you guys might have charged $100 and like $125 last time. Now he filled up the other day 239 gallons in his semi, $904.
Oh
yeah,
dude, that'd make you sick.
How far is that going to get you?
Yeah, no kidding.
Good Lord.
Oh, that would make you so sick. No, well, whatever. What do? You just keep going.
You got to pass that cost on to the customer.
That's it.
That's why we're paying so much in shipping and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know them little templates used to cost me like $2, $3 to ship them. They're $9 now. They come in a little tube. And it's just like, man, what the freaking world? But it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. What do you do?
What size pipe are you cutting those little grills and stuff out of?
So the pipe ones, I have a template for an 8-inch and a 12-inch because they're the ones that 12-inch and 8-inch is pretty common on a job. So usually you'll get drops and the helpers or the welders will have them and they'll just cut them out of that. But it works out.
So what advice would you have for somebody getting into like oil and gas right now? Because I mean, you've probably seen throughout your entire career, it fluctuates. It's going to be an ebb and flow. It's just like anything else construction related, you're going to make hay when the sun's shining. It's feast or famine. What's one piece of advice you'd give somebody that's, in pipe welding school right now, because them places are packed to the gills. What advice would you give them if they want to, break out and get into pipe welding?
Into pipe welding or rig welding?
Yeah. Well, just like oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Okay.
Because that seems like that's where everybody wants to go because that's where the money's at,
That's where everybody wants to go. Somebody fresh out of school. I mean, personally, myself, I wish I would have gone the single-hand route for at least a year. And the reason being is single-hand welders tend to always have work. There's always work for a single-hand welder. And single-hand meaning, a lot of people don't know what single-hand is. Single-hand is when you don't own the truck, you don't own the welding machines. Basically, you own a simple set of hand tools and a welding hood, and you just show up and you go to work. And they provide everything to weld. So that's a single-hand welder. There is such a tight group of people that does the single hand, and they're oil and gas. They can do oil and gas, nuclear, whatever, but they're super tight niched. And if you didn't start there, it's kind of hard to get into it. But that's kind of my advice is I would start fresh out of school. I would go single hand and do it for 6 months. I mean, just build your reputation in that community and then get your truck together, get all your tools together, and go out into the oil and gas. And the reason I say that is because there will be downtimes in oil and gas where you couldn't buy a job.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are really good at what they do, and they're sought after, and they'll be able to stay busy during the low times. But when you're pretty new into it, not too many people know who you are. And so if you still have that tight-knit community of single hand, you can still keep the truck and the welder and everything, go weld single hand till you get something else, and then go back out as a rig welder. So it's something that I wish I would have done. And it's something that I think about quite a bit, is because if 2016 hit and I was in the single hand deal and I knew how to find that kind of work, life would have been totally different. Probably when it started YouTube, probably, you know what I mean? Like, glad that it happened because it was a huge blessing as far as getting involved in stuff like this. But really wish I would have started with the single hand.
Okay.
And you can go and you can do this exotics and the TIG and the downhill and the uphill all in the single hand. But if you don't start there, it's pretty hard to go back to, you know what I mean?
Right. Now, what do you think about cross training between like oil and gas, but also like pressure piping? You think that's like a pretty solid move for somebody that wants to get into pipe welding? That way you can still do shutdowns if the oil and gas is down. You know, you still have something to fall back on. Because I've heard like horror stories of like when the gas line, you know, oil and gas kind of dries up, you know, people are losing their truck, they're losing their rig, you know, they don't have a second set of skills because all they know how to do is run that rod downhill.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened to us. That was exactly what flipping happened. We owed the bank owned everything we had. And so when everything dropped out, and I'm not scared to tell anybody this because it was a huge mistake that I think a lot of people need to know about, but the bank owned everything we had. When you cannot make the payment to the bank, they want their flipping money, and they're either going to get their money or they're going to come get what you got. And so it's a super stressful thing. But just like you're saying, if you would have transitioned from, you know, the pressure piping into the pipeline, well, then you can still go back to the pressure piping, and that truck that might be owned by the bank, you can still keep and pay for. You might not be living like you were living as far as being on the pipeline, but you can keep everything. And then when it kicks back up, you still have everything. You don't have to start over. So I just remember in 2016, I had a job call me, and I sold my welding machine. I sold my welding bed. I sold freaking everything just to try to keep the truck, because I knew if I had the truck, I could put a machine in it and go back to work. But I had to call a buddy, and I had to borrow his bevelers. I had to borrow his second machine. And that's how I got back into it. And I learned my flipping lesson. And so I think going back, being able to have something to go back to, like the single hand or the pressure piping or whatever, huge plus.
Yeah. And then just like you guys did, like having, you know, fabrication skills, you know, being able to look at something and build it or work off of a set of prints, or, you know, like having just the ability to learn a new skill. Like you went out and you learned TIG welding kind of like on the fly and on the job site. And now you're probably slicking them out, you know, just, you know, having that ability, being teachable is a huge asset to anybody getting into this trade. Because if work dries up, like, you know, I did the same thing with ironwork. And it's like, if buildings all of a sudden, like 2008, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of buildings that needed to be done. But like I had a buddy that owned a shop down the street, you know, he needed a lot of help with rails, because there's a lot of people that were making money in real estate that they need these brand new fancy gates and rails and, you know, all this stuff in the front of their house. Well, guess what? You know, he was making a metric shit ton of money. So I'd go over there and help him. And that's where I learned like aluminum fabrication and stuff like that when there wasn't a whole lot of ironwork going on. You know, so just the ability to be able to be teachable and moldable and not being too stuck up, you know, be humble every once in a while, go out there and learn something new. Yeah, you're not going to make the money that you're used to, but it's not going to last very long because it's, like I said, it's feast or famine. You know, so during times of famine, you do some things to get by, and then the next thing you know, man, it breaks wide open again, and you're the first one they call.
Yep, exactly. It's a don't be a one-trick pony scenario. Mm-hmm. It's if you're gonna go be a pipeliner, pipeline is fun. It's probably the funnest thing I think a guy could do. I mean, you're welding with a buddy all day long. It's fast. It's a race. It's fun. But when it comes to building something, as far as fabricating piping spools and all this other stuff, you need to learn that. You need to learn how to read the ISO, how to do the takeoffs, how to go pull the measurements, because a lot of the guys that run the pipelines, they don't know how to do that. And then on top of that, learn the TIG, learn aluminum, learn, you know, constantly just be learning, because if you are a one-trick pony, you'll starve to death.
Yeah. Yeah, you got being versatile.
Being versatile. That's it. No,
definitely. I mean, and I try to tell people that, you know, because they want to put all their chips in one basket or all their eggs in one basket. It's like, I want to come in here and I want to learn how to TIG weld. Okay, well, what are you going to do when there's no TIG work and everybody's hiring for like structural, or everybody's hiring for manufacturing with MIG welding? Like, learn these other processes. Learn as many processes as you can. You know, while you're in school, burn every rod, every piece of wire they're going to let you, and, you know, pick your instructor's brain or your mentor. You know, if you're starting off in the field as a hand, pick their brain, talk to them, you know, figure out, hey, what would you do different? You know, what are some of the things that you can teach me you wish you knew? You know, do you know any other welding processes you could teach me? Like, be open to learning stuff.
Yep. I agree 100%. But it's just trying not to starve to death. The best way to do it is to know a lot of things.
Yeah. And especially in a short period of time. That's like, we get kids in the program all the time. They're like, I don't know if I should take, the next level in the program. And it's like, you live in a home with mom and dad? Yeah. You got any bills? No. Yeah. Take the school now, because there's plenty of time to chase that dollar. I guarantee you that dollar will be here whether you graduate today or whether you graduate next year. That dollar's always, I've been chasing it, ever since I was a kid. It's going to be there. So learn as much as you can while you have the opportunity to do it. Because a lot of people, they'll learn a couple welding processes and then they want to break out and go make all this money. And then they realize they're like, well, shit, I should have learned, if I would have learned TIG while I was in school, I could have switched and did TIG welding. Or, if I knew aluminum MIG, I could switch over and do this. Or, like aluminum TIG, I could get this job over here is hiring for what I'm, more than I'm making right now. So just having that versatility and not being, pinned down like you said, a one-trick pony. You kind of got a limited pool to fish out of.
Yep. And I think that's where the schools are coming in, and they're helping a bunch. And one reason, because I know that when I started, I still would. I don't know how to say that. I guess when I started, all I knew was downhill. I could weld enough uphill to pass the test, and then everything I did was downhill. Well, then when everything dropped out, I had no downhill work. And so that's where the schools, I wish I would have stayed in school a little bit for it. But I'm not saying I didn't like the way I started, but school teaches you so many different processes. You got the TIG, you got the uphill, you got the downhill, you got the MIG, and you can take that all home and practice and become very proficient at it. But if you don't know how to even start with the process, pretty freaking hard.
Yeah.
And that's thank goodness we got that TIG job, because it was freaking hard. But now I feel confident enough that, I can go TIG.
Now you can go get more TIG work.
Yeah, and I wish I would have maybe done that earlier and actually took the time and learned that process and learned from somebody that knew what was going on. But that's what ate my lunch. I knew guys that were welding. They were all TIG welding in 2016, but this boy didn't know how to do it. So I sat there and watched them.
And you can learn a lot. You can learn just as much, watching them. You can learn just as much what not to do as you can what to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot of things just on job sites, like watching electricians, how they run things, or, watching like the plumbers, how they do things, and HVAC guys. And then like you bring that knowledge home, and next thing you know, you're making repairs on the house and putting things together. And you're like, I don't know how the hell I know how to do this. Oh yeah. Watch that old dude, with his, I was sitting back there taking a break and I was watching that guy, just do his job. And well, I'll be damned if I don't know how to do it now.
Yep, exactly. It's the damn craziest thing. If you just pay attention, you can sure save a lot of years of struggle.
Oh yeah. Well, Jake, it's been awesome. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. I know you're a busy man. I think we've had to reschedule this a couple of times because you've been pretty damn busy.
I feel bad. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, you're good. You're good. Like I said, I've got contingency plans and stuff like that. But it's been an honor having you. I hope our paths cross again one day. You're a super cool person. I know we got to meet at Fab Tech. I don't know if that's like in your future next year, if you're coming down to Atlanta or if you're going to be out in Houston. Going? I'm definitely going. I'm kind of like, I'm flying solo now. So like with the Junkies podcast, I'll definitely be up there. It's Atlanta. So it's like 6 hours away. So I'm going to pack up all my gear and I'll drive up there. I'll be there for the whole time.
Shoot, I think we need to, because Jed's never been. And neither is Casey, my other brother, and so I might load those two on a plane.
Oh, they definitely. You got to come down here because you need to get an iron worker for your shop now.
That's right.
You're dang right. You got to be able to punch holes and shear metal and notch and cope and all that good stuff. So come on down, man.
Maybe, hopefully everything's good. We got a pocket full of money when we come down, and we'll.
There you go. If not, maybe we can link up in Houston whenever you get back that way.
There you go. We can do that too.
Okay. Well, hell, man, go ahead and plug your social media, your podcast, all that stuff. Where can people find you? Your website? I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, so everything pretty simple. Schofield Welding. The website's www.schofieldwelding.com. Instagram, YouTube, all Schofield Welding. So
Keep it simple, man.
Simple.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Well, hell, man,
right.
it was great having you on, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime, brother. All right, everyone, that concludes 2021 of the ARC Junkies podcast. Be sure to tune in for everything we have in store in 2022, including regularly scheduled episodes of the ARC Junkies, which are going to come out every Monday, Just the Tip Tuesdays, which are coming out every single Tuesday, and Weld Wednesdays with AWS, which will be the first Wednesday of every month. 2022 is going to be a hell of a ride. Don't forget to check out the ARC Junkies website. That's arc-junkies.podsite.io, where you can stream full episodes of the podcast, check out the supporters of the show and all the great discounts they have to offer, and you can pick up ARC Junkies hats, shirts, and hoodies. Stay safe out there, have a happy new year, and I'll see y'all in 2022. And until next time, make every weld better than your last.